Okay, wow, we're live. Everybody, welcome to Mark Bayersky Truth Bomb Podcasts. Changes every week, the name. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. There's a few people in the chat. Cheers, Alan. There's so many in the chat thus far, and I'm sure it'll grow and grow because my time, it's crazy my time. It's 9 o'clock, and really I would have been... I'd been up at 5:30. I'd have washed the car, done a 3-mile hike, and no, that's not true at all. I'd got up at 8:30 and thought, shit. What time is it where you are, Ole? Please.
It's 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
That's a nice time. I've got to say, Ole, I absolutely miss Bali. Can I ask you, do you miss Spain?
I don't. Sorry, Spain, I don't. I was ready with Spain the last 5-10 years we were there, but since my daughter and our boys were more, my daughter was born here and the boys were just kids when we came, and Kim also was deeply in love with Spain, so I stayed for them. But there was, I never really fitted in, I felt, the way that I do here.
Yeah, I get it. I've been here 20 years, so I can't say, I don't like it anymore, because I do like coming back. But I have to say I'm torn between wanting to live in Bali myself, because I've grown so fond to it. It's like in my heart every day. I think about it nearly every day. But when I'm in Bali, I'm a bit like, oh, maybe I need to get back to work, and so it kind of like pulls me back and forth. But hey ho, the way it is. Welcome everybody. Anyway, this is the most beautiful, kind-hearted, loving peace warrior, peace lover, peacemaker, Ole Dammegard. He's a beautiful soul. If you've never met him before, I'm sure you have. I'm sure you watched many of his podcasts. And Ole basically tries to put light on the world where we don't really get time to see it, because we're busy eating, drinking, working and sleeping to try to keep the wolves from the door. So, I acknowledge that. We should be more awake. We should be more aware. But in a world of infiltration, in a world of lies and deceit that we're in right now, it's very hard to navigate through this. So I wanted to bring Ole on today to discuss a few things where even I got fooled. And normally I'm like, I can smell a rat a mile away, but I really believed that a guy was thrown into prison. I really believed he stayed in prison. And last time me and Ole spoke, he said, I'm sorry to tell you, but Assange isn't really what you think. And I'm like, wow. And I've got to say, I watched his latest, he's come out now, and his latest press conference, he looked pretty good, Ole. For somebody who's been into prison that long, he looked pretty good. I mean, he's healed pretty well. So can you take us through the process of what you believe, why you said he's not what you think he is? And when I said, well, what about this guy who's gone into prison? And you said, oh, it's not really what you think. Can you explain to everybody what you meant by that?
First of all, I'm sorry to be the bringer of bad news. I mean, officially, Julian Assange is a beautiful individual who's doing the right thing, and also a figure that so many thousands of people are holding up like this as a hero, and I was also completely in that area for quite a few years. But the longer I got into, I mean, I was blown away when WikiLeaks started exposing all of these things, and I was like so many other people, I was doing everything I could to check the validity of the information that was being shared through WikiLeaks, and it was incredible. But then over the years, and with this rape case in Sweden and all of this thing, the more I looked into it, it started smelling a lot like a psyop. And one of the things that I reacted against to start with was that I'm surrounded by whistleblowers from around the world. I mean, I have an incredible network of amazingly beautiful people, brave people that have been standing up for what is true and right against, they got their life messed up and they lost their family and friends, and still they were standing in the truth. And many of these people hold information that is of great value for humanity. I tell you, that unbelievable information. Are they giving any time of the day or airspace or whatever you want to call it in mainstream media? Not at all. Zero. I mean, zero, zero. If they're invited, the same goes for me. I've been invited to quite a few of these big channels like ITV and whatever. And when you are one of us, these type of individuals, uh, invited into this kind of mainstream media, it is there as an ambush. I've seen it over and over again, how people are invited in and everything looks beautiful and great. Come on in. Like I had a friend, Professor Jim Fetz in the US, the BBC flew over to the US, a whole crew. They filmed 8 hours of interviews. He was so proud. And I said, please be aware, Jim, because if I'm correct, they took these 8 hours, and the guys that were filming it, the women and men that were there, beautiful individuals, really nice people doing that job, and so on. But the ones that cut it and edited it together afterwards, and then was the one that aired it, made him look like an absolute idiot. Tinfoil hat on steroids, complete destroying his reputation. He's one of the people that have been put at trial for the Sandy Hook thing. We can go into Alex Jones. There's another one of these ones that
I've got it written down here.
yeah. So real whistleblowers, real
I'm just showing you.
whistleblowers are not given a chance at all. We are being shut down, censored, heavily hit, threatened, sometimes taken out. Put away in mental institutions, prisons. I'm surrounded by people like that. And then you have certain individuals that, as soon as they burp, mainstream media is there covering it. And two of them are Edward Snowden and Julian Assange. It's just New York Times, Washington Post, the statues in Berlin, there are all of these things that are putting this saint-like halo on them. Whatever they say, whatever they do, it's covered in mainstream media. It is the exact opposite of what I experience with many, many people around the world in the same situation. So why is that? You have to ask yourself, why is that? And so the thing that really got to me was, there's a book called The Deconstruction of WikiLeaks, Deconstruction of WikiLeaks. It's by an author called Daniel Estulin, who is one of the people that really exposed a lot about the so-called Bilderberg Group, which has been of great value. But anyway, he showed how the WikiLeaks was created, who funded it, who are the board members, and when you look into that, it's sort of like, holy, what on earth? We're looking at the military industrial complex with massive big money and bankers in the background, all kinds of stuff like that, funding and being heading that organization. It's like, what is going on? So either Daniel Estulin is full of it. Everything I checked in the book has proved to be correct. So that really made me see, because also when you have what is called controlled opposition, the people in power, ever since the Romans and the Greek and whatever, in these empires, what they understood is that people will always look for heroes. And so one way of defusing that is to serve them heroes, but that are controlled by the powers, because that will then have them avoid a lot of problems from the ruling point of view. Because if they control the heroes, they can control the whole setup. So it would be an illusion of conflict. It would be an illusion of uprising. It would be an illusion of all of these things. So creating heroes is part of the global operation. That over and over and over again they do it, and the way they do it is that you have somebody coming out of nowhere, and suddenly they deliver incredible information. So thousands of people are starting to look into it. They're starting to talk. Have you heard this guy? Have you heard this woman? It's unbelievable, the information. So people start looking into it. And in the beginning, the information that is being delivered is 100% correct, absolute explosive. Then more and more people start following. Suddenly we are up in the millions. Then it starts going from 100% truth to maybe 95% truth, 5% lies that are placed in very carefully, so that we say, well, I've checked them out. They're truth tellers. They're all of these. And 5% is suddenly sneaked in, boom. Then it's 10%, then it's 15%, then it's 20%. Still 80% of absolute incredible, 20% absolute not. But that are pointing in a completely different direction. But by then, most of these millions of people that have started follow, they already have said, well, they checked my boxes, so I trust them. And that's how it's done. And so then you will also see that these control opposition, they will only expose certain areas. And certain areas is like taboo. They just duck and dive and avoid them. And this is exactly what we see around WikiLeaks. Incredible information, but it is, when you see the operation, the way it's set up, they're throwing us bones. When needed, they're throwing us bones in their direct, whatever they want. It's their agenda.
Okay, so can I clarify something then?
Please
So
do.
are you saying that Julian Assange is either a pawn and really did what he did, knowing that he did it because he was somehow coerced to do it, and that he went to prison, knowing he went to prison, but the system made that happen, and he was actually in prison, and he was angry, and or he knew everything that was going to happen. His wife knew, everybody knew what was going to happen, or not. Can you explain how the system created that and how it actually happened, so that we can figure out because I still don't understand it. I understand what you've just said. That bit makes sense. But the bit that I don't understand is, like, he's ended up looking fantastic. Alex Jones is laughing and joking all the time. And this guy's meant to have lost billions or millions. And he's still on all the podcasts laughing and joking and sharing his information. Same with Brand, is, talking about Jesus, laughing and joking, and he's meant to be, under investigation of a rape of a girl, which again is very, very similar to a lot of allegations, when apparently they want to take these people down who are good people and always say that they've raped somebody, and we've got rape allegations. So it's very confusing for all of us to understand. If you can break it down a little bit.
For sure, Mark. And once again, I'm sharing my truth.
Yeah.
I can only say this is because it's very good for me to be aware of people that are around, because I live in a minefield. I've had people murdered around me and stuff like that. So I'm maybe oversensitive, but it's very important for me to know who I can trust, which are very few, and how to look with skepticism and so on to others. So please look for yourself, have your own opinion. I'm not trying to change anyone's opinion. But if we look at the phenomena of Julian Assange, he came from what has been described as a sect in Australia. It was a woman, a very odd woman. I can't remember. I wasn't prepared for you to ask about this. Otherwise, I would have prepared with the names and so on. So sorry for that. But anyway, there was this sect in Australia where they had all of these children. They got all of these children in there. All of them had to color their hair blonde. And now, after they've grown up, they've stepped forward. They've been part of many documentaries telling about a lot of atrocities and horrible stuff that happened in that sect. One of these children were Julian Assange. Okay, and this woman that was leading the whole thing. She was taken to court. She avoided court. She escaped around the world. And then in the end, she died at a hospital, which was a Freemasonry hospital. It was a Freemasonic hospital. So for a woman to die in that hospital, I think shows strong connections to Freemasonry. And also, when you look into that whole sect and the way it was built up, it smells a lot of CIA, you know. And yeah, but it was in Australia, it was in New Zealand. It was like these agencies work on a global scale, you know. So then, then Julian Assange disappears. He's off radar. Then he comes back. He was what was the first thing that he became famous for? I can't remember. Yeah, that he was part. He had one part of uh, Steve Jobs' operating system, as far as I remember. That he said that he put that part in the whole thing for Steve Jobs' setup. That has never been, they've never been able to locate that code that they say that he was the one that added. But afterwards, then he went to university, and in university he never graduated anything. He was there forever, I think 8 years at least without graduating. And then he I really should have looked into this before we spoke to just remind myself. But anyway, he has this very odd background, and then he appeared. He also, the way he lives in I think it was called Magnetic Island, which is a tiny little island. Then he was in the sect. It's very hard to really get a grip of where he came from, who he was, and then suddenly, boom, he came up, and this whole WikiLeaks were born.
Okay.
Then you look at him. I mean, as a person, just like Barack Obama, beautiful individual, beautiful voice. He says all the right things. He said all. So, uh, but then you have this very odd rape case, and just like you said before, when they create heroes, sometimes they also accuse them of things that they have not done. When they start going down in popularity, they get accused of something that is so obviously not right. So people get like, oh my God, this is not right. We have to stand up for this guy. Look at all the good thing he's done. And so they create that whole emotions going on. At the same time as these, if you ask me, operations are ongoing, please look what's going on in the background. Because now our focus is looking that way. It's over here that our real focus should be. And so Julian Assange went to Sweden, and in Sweden, he was accused of 2 cases of rape. Okay, that's serious business. Rape allegations, that is really serious. So who accused him? There was one woman that I want to say in these operations, very often they recycle the same people in other operations. And we have one climate change operation that once you start looking into it, please, I would say, at least see that there's a massive big question mark around that whole thing. And at the front of that, we have an individual called Greta Thunberg from Sweden, this tiny little girl who was standing up and saying, we need to save the world, we need to save the Mother Earth because we're doing all of these bad things. So she came like an incredible firework on the global stage. Behind her were massive big marketing agencies, a German agency also that was pushing, and all of the ones she was pointing, accusing at, was the one welcoming her in on stage where she could do her whole thing. When you look around Greta Thunberg, very, very, very odd to say the least. And also like her family ties and bizarre. Like her mother, not that long ago, there was this newspaper in Sweden that did an interview with her some years ago, and on that front page, her smiling, she's an opera singer, saying, "Well, we all sell our souls to the devil sometimes, don't we?" I don't think so. I mean, at least that is not in my. But anyway, so you got Greta Thunberg. what has that got to do with Julian Assange? Well, there's one vicar in Sweden, a woman that was a vicar, and she was used over and over again in media, where she was saying Greta Thunberg is the best thing since Jesus, more or less. She was the one pushing Greta Thunberg up like that, standing in her white robe and looking all holy like that. She is one of the victims of Julian Assange.
Wow.
So what? Then we have the other victim is the daughter of a heavy-hitting journalist who was incredible in the 80s and early 90s in Sweden. He was exposing massive things. He was one of the few heroes I have. Then he got shut down. I mean, nobody really knows what happened to him. From coming in like Billy the Kid, not stopping for anything, suddenly he became completely lame and just disappeared. He was fired. Nobody knows what happened. It's been a big mystery to me. The victim number two is his daughter. So his daughter, who after that has suddenly made a career as an international speaker. She's involved with many of these big World Health Organizations, these big boys. She's an author, she's a public figure. So her name has sort of skyrocketed, with most people not understanding that it's her being victim number two. So both victims, I would say, what on earth is that? So I have all of the papers from when he was being accused of this thing. So where did these accusations come from? Well, he was in Stockholm, and he just came. There were two women that he went home with, okay, and both of them went to the small police station. It's not a central police station. It's in the outskirts of Stockholm, and they came in on the very same day with this more or less identical accusations of him. Okay, so what did he do? Did he knock them out and give them, knockout drops? And did he tie them up and rape them in a violent way? No, one person who invited him home says that they had sex. She was inviting him in. They had sex. He had a condom on. And then when she went to the bathroom and she saw him taking the condom and use a needle to prick it, make a hole in the condom, and thus that's the rape case, that he pricked the condom to make. I mean, why would you use a condom if you wanted to make a pregnant? Why would you want to make a woman in Sweden a vicar? It's like, it doesn't make any sense. I got the photos of the condom. I got all of these things. So that is bizarre. The whole thing is bizarre. But that is the thing that was so unjust, so that the whole opinion around him got completely like, oh my God, this is so not right. We have to save him. We have to save him. And then that started him escaping around the world, and then coming to this embassy where he was being. How many years did he spend there? I don't know. So was he there? When I look at other operations, because what I do, I look globally, and so Julian Assange is not a one-off. I've seen similar operations where they've done similar things, and so where the good guy is put in prison, or the good guy is put into isolation or something like that. But actually what happens is they walk in through one door on the one side of the building, they walk out the back door, and then they take off. They're part of other operations. They go on holiday, do whatever they want, And in the meantime, we think, no, they're in there. They're kept in prison. Now it's so horrible. It's so horrible. Like we had a journalist in Sweden. He went in one side, and then he was educated for 1 year in military and intelligence agency work. Then he came out, was saluted as a hero, became this very, very, one of Sweden's most famous authors. And all of his books, most of his books are based on military intelligence on a level that he, as a journalist, would never be able to find out. Where did he get the knowledge? From inside, because he was working both with agencies in East Germany and Russia and in Sweden and the CIA. Do you see sort of like a world of very strange things, to say the least? So then also what they do is when they're held like that, they often, when they come out, they need to look like a victim. So they're like long hair, and they look like Monty Python in a dungeon. You know, they come out and they look all worn out like that. Instead, was there no soap or combs or anything like that on the inside? Yes, but still, that's what, because that's what they need for people to react and say, "Oh my God, look how he's suffering." Look like that. Then we get presented photos from the inside of girlfriends and all beautiful photos. Like, wait a second, this is very confusing. And so, and then he's let out after all of these years, and suddenly, from looking like a real victim, he looks really good. And he's like, uh, so I can only say, on for myself, I completely doubt him. And I say it's not him as a person. What I'm saying is, you are putting the attention in the wrong place,
Right.
because actually what we should be seeing, watching, is this. You, all of these people that are supporting this whole phenomena are good people with good intentions, good hearts, saying, "Oh my God, we need to make this place a better place for all of us." But actually, you're being taken for a big ride. That is what I'm saying. So
Okay.
no harm to Mr. Julian Assange. At the same time, also, is he aware of what he's doing? As you know, like that, you have what is called mind control, and sometimes this is because I don't feel that he's sort of a dark individual. I don't think that he's a deceiving, manipulating person. Not at all. So how come that he's part of these operations the way he is? And
Exactly.
sometimes you have this thing with compartmentalization and split personalities, where
Yeah.
they through, this is also from his background, his childhood, I would say, that it's very possible that it was during his childhood, when they were going through these traumatic events, that they were also being prepared for future operations by mind control operations. And in what they do in these areas is that they put individuals, they handpick individuals that are very receptive to hypnosis and so on. What they do, they put them through very traumatic events, like torture, rape, and so on. And what happens in these cases is that the personality splits,
Yeah.
so that you got two personalities in one person,
Yeah.
because the it's like, that's just the way nature works, that it, when it can't take the pain anymore, it's just bloop, and you got to completely. And then what they have then is that they develop like what they call a trigger, so that they can activate personality number two, and personality number one may not even know about the. I mean, I've been accused of being a mind control individual, not knowing it. I mean, if I don't know it, how can I know? So that is
Aren't
possible.
we all? Aren't we all? I mean,
I
every
don't know.
information that we share with people, in a sense, if other people pick that up and use it, then they are essentially, we are giving information on the basis of whatever we feel and think. So, like me, I believe that Assange, well, Mike Pompeo, if look at the documents from Tucker Carlson saying, we need to kill this individual. I mean, now it opens up another thought that everybody is acting. Everything is basically a stage show. Everything. I used to think half of the world was a stage show on mainstream, but now I realize that it's all a stage show. It must be.
it's it's not all of it, but if you talk mainstream, if you look at the ownership of mainstream media on a global scale, it's very few. There are very, very few. In the US, that's more than 96% of all TV stations, radio stations, book publishing companies, magazines, newspapers are owned by six companies or less, and these six are working together with each other. So imagine six individuals. That is like around one table. People can have one dinner and control 96 or more percent of the American mainstream. That's just the American one, but they work on a global scale, and you have so many also journalists that are pay on the payroll of agencies like the CIA, like this has gone out in different. There's been waves of exposures. There was a German guy called Udo Kotte or something like that, who stepped forward some years ago and said, "Listen, guys, I feel really, really bad, but I wanted to tell you that all of these articles, I haven't written them. The only thing I've done is put my name underneath it, and I was paid off. And we're so many that are doing the same. We are being played here." And then he died. Boom, very conveniently, which is the case of many people. So I think that it's very possible that Julian Assange is like that. There is this split, and that he is the limit. We had a friend in our family that was an international speaker, and I really believe that he had this too. That boom boom, and Kim and I sometimes call it like a 2D personality and a 3D personality. Like a 3D is when you meet someone and you get an impression of that person, and then a 2D is when the cameras are switched on and they just switch. It's like,
Yeah.
what on earth just happened? I spoke to John Barber, who's a TV legend in the US. He's got 5 Emmys, and he was the one that created reality TV. He interviewed all of the top ones. I mean, before what is it called? These late shows, late night show with this and that. And he was the one that started all of these shows. So he had Kirk Douglas and all of these guys and women, all of the Hollywood stars, all of them. And we became good friends. And I asked him once, I've had this experience of this 2D, 3D, like when they switch on the camera, they just clop, and it's a different person, super nice, super like this. You turn it off, they turn into an asshole, a diva, all of the, like, what happened? And the thing that happened was camera turned off, suddenly clop. And I said, have you ever experienced that? Since he had like hundreds and hundreds of guests, he said in all cases except 2. That is exactly what, I mean, coming from him, that means that 98 out of 100 guests that was on his shows did exactly that. I'm like, what on earth is that? So here we have another one that we only see when the camera is switched on. And then they present themselves in a very specific way. So I don't know what's going on when the camera is turned off.
I have a lot of friends who are in the acting world who, I knew started off as wanting to become very famous. And then they went to, I won't say which acting studios, but then I found that those that pursued the acting career to become Hollywood famous stars, they had this, it was part of the acting. It is to switch on and switch off when a camera comes to them. So then they bring that into their normal lives and they don't even know it. But when they're with people, they act. And when they're comfortable with the people that they love and know, they become normal. And I know lots of people like that. So I would say that kind of corresponds with what you're saying. But I also believe that the amount of people that I've read for who were in satanic cults, who were brought up in a satanic coven, that they were abused as a child and they were beat and they were tortured, and then when they grow up they have this split personality, like you say. So there's so many reasons why people switch on and switch off. That's all I wanted to mention.
And if you look at the other survivors, the other children of that sect where Julian Assange was part of it, watch the documentaries there, and this is exactly what they're talking about, that they were put through all kinds of horrible stuff, and that they're suffering to this very day. They can't have normal relationships. They're a mess. So is it far-fetched to think that possibly he was handpicked out of this? I see him as a victim, that he was handpicked out of that to be part of an operation to carry out whatever that is.
Do you know what? You've said that, so you've said that and explained it. So this last part, what you've just said now, explains everything, and I get that now. I totally get it. It's sort of what I've been thinking about since we were last on together, and we mentioned Julian Assange. I looked into it, and that last part, what you've just said, was the conclusion that I came to. So what do you feel about people like Alex Jones, going to Bohemian Grove, having a father in the military industrial complex, being attacked by, talking about Sandy Hook, saying it happened, and then what do you feel about that particular story?
So I spoke to Alex Jones once. I even got him invited to a show in Spain on Talk Radio Europe. I saw him as an amazing guy. I was super, super grateful for what he was doing. This was in 2009, I think. And then I started seeing, whoa, here we go again. And I want to take it one step further. This is going to go tinfoil hat warning alert coming out here, but I really truly believe that he was formerly known as Bill Hicks, a stand-up comedian who came from Austin, Texas, who had a producer, who had certain friends, who had all of these things, and an incredible stand-up. I mean, absolutely, I loved him.
Totally.
Then he died of cancer. And the last photo we see him, it doesn't even look like him. He's in a wheelchair. He's got a beard on. It's sort of like, he dies, and out of nowhere appears an individual called Alex Jones. Same producer, same close friends, same location. The only difference is that he speaks like this, but I can speak like this also. Yeah. And so he added some weight. But if you start checking, I have forensic forensic experts that have checked out the whole facial structure, the teeth, the eyes, what is used for now digital face identification, that whole thing, that we have a unique measurement between all. It fits completely into him. So out of Bill Hicks came another actor called Alex Jones. We have the Waco thing, that whole operation, that's his big breakthrough. And then this Alex Jones came and just rose to this fame very fast and created InfoWars. And so amazing. And in the beginning, absolutely incredible information, the same way, the same pattern, 100% mind-blowing stuff. And then I even met some journalists from InfoWars at the Bilderberg meeting in 2014 in Copenhagen, and I got a very weird feeling. I was just like, what on earth? I thought that these guys would be on it, switched on, interested. That was not it was not the feeling I got at all.
Wow.
And this is like, what? Wait a second, this is odd. When this is what they say officially, and this is where they are, it doesn't match up in my world. So I get like confused. And then the more I looked into it, that's also when this Bill Hicks things came up too. I'm not the only one pointing it out. Many people are, and many people are saying absolute nonsense. I can only say I find it very highly likable. And there's even one video that is now gone, where Alex Jones he's sitting there crying in the TV studio saying, you got me. Yes, I am Bill Hicks. And then in the end, he turns around and suddenly says, and I'm also an English Dutch. And it just goes really weird. But sometimes they need to tell you the truth because they fear the law of karma. So they're putting it out there. We've said it, we've done it, and then boom, it's up to you. But so what I feel is, if you look at Alex Jones, there's never anything about the powers that are in the country of Israel or the whole structure behind. Never, ever. And when you look into these operations on a global scale, that is all over the place. Not there. And also what he's doing, it's always like promoting violence, almost like, it's the end of times, we have to stand up, it's fight to the death. This whole thing that he's driven by adrenaline and aggression. So, which is great for everyone who's angry, because then he would be their spokesperson.
Exactly.
But you mentioned Sandy Hook. That one is a complete psyop in its own, because there was two friends of mine, or at least one of them is a close friend of mine, Professor Jim Fetzer, and his friend Walter Holbig, who's a former police officer and who's sort of, his job was to look into things like this. Then Sandy Hook happened, and the whole thing is absolutely not true. I've been part of writing a book, Nobody Died in Sandy Hook. It was published just, I think, 6 months after it happened. We had a whole series of books where what Professor Jim Fetzer did, what he invited 8 to 10 top specialists in different areas to have a look at these big cases. And then we got one chapter each. And I tell you, when you look into that, the whole thing, there's not a, I mean, the school wasn't open and had been closed down for years. It was completely destroyed after flooding. There were no kids. There was no, all of it is absolutely 100% not true. On my website, please go to my web shop, lightonconspiracies.com. That book is there as a PDF. I gave it away for free for years, but then the website was attacked because there was no payment system, no wall. So my website got destroyed. So now I'm charging like $3, $4, $5, I don't know, something like that, just to stop that. Because
What's the book called?
Nobody Died at Sandy Hook. Nobody died at Sandy Hook. And I tell you, if you still believe that the official narrative after reading that one, really, you have to question your level of IQ, because it is so obviously not true. And I'm just going to say that the big question mark is like, but how on earth can they pull off a thing like that? I mean, the whole community is saying one thing. How can he? And to explain that, there was many years ago, there was a man called Fletcher Prouty. He's the guy in the JFK movie called Mr. X, the guy that exposes the whole thing and explains. Are we back?
Yeah, nearly. It's just gone off. If we just give it a second, if you could start again with that particular section.
Yeah. Okay. So one man that I really admire is a guy that his name was Fletcher Prouty. He was working with Black Ops in the Pentagon for many years. Very intelligent, and he was the guy that was portrayed and called Mr. X in the JFK movie. He was played by Donald Sutherland. And in that movie, he explains the bigger picture behind the JFK movie, where you just suddenly see, oh my God, this is massive. Okay, so Fletcher Prouty he told, I've learned so much about what I'm doing now from him, from the inside. Anyway, so Fletcher told a story once that he was with the head of the CIA, Alan Dulles, one time in Greece. They were traveling around down there, and they were driving by this place, and Alan Dulles, the CIA director, said, listen, Fletcher, do you know what that is? So he pointed at this community, and Fletcher said, is it some kind of resort? Is it some kind of like holiday type of thing? And Dulles said, no, they're all ours. So all of the ones living that's in Greece, behind like a gated community, all of them CAA. Grandfathers, dogs, mothers, children, fathers, car mechanics, photographers, you name it, living in there. And he said, we got these places all over the place, and they're there, sleeping agents, sleeping assets as they're called, to be activated if needed. At any time, a point, boom, what do we need? We need a grandfather, we need a grandchild, we need a car mechanic, we need this, activate, boom, and they're in Greece, in Germany, in this and that. And I truly believe that Sandy Hook, that whole community, is exactly that. This is why also when Walter Holbig and Jim Fetzer, they've gone there, they've been on location there, and I mean, they're treated so hostile, that it's with such hostility. And people who are living in Sandy Hook, who are not part of it, are completely confused. I made an interview, her name I think was Rebecca Carnes, who lives in Sandy Hook, and it's right in the middle, but doesn't get it. So we did like 3, 4 shows with her. I said, please be aware, you're right in the center, possibly on one of these operations. And so anyway, so we have Sandy Hook and the father of one of the children, Noah Posner, who, I mean, there's like multiple different death certificates. There's no proof of death. There's nothing makes sense at all. And so the alleged father of Noah Posner, who looks different every time, there's the different individuals playing the father, have sued Jim Fetzer, taking him to court, and Walter Holbig because of that. That became a big court case. Once again, Professor Jim Fetzer was, he said, not a problem, I'll be happy to go to court, because he had so much evidence. And I said, please, Jim, it's an ambush. The whole thing is a setup, according to my experience. I mean, what do I know? But this is what I've seen again and again. He said, no, don't worry, don't worry. So he went there. He wasn't allowed to show anything. He wasn't allowed to present anything. And then he was sentenced to $450,000, something like that. Okay, so that thing, and Walter Holbig was also sentenced to do something like that. But at the same time, suddenly they brought in Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we have Jim Fetzer, Walter Holbig, that have really done incredible work exposing these things. Walter Holbig, a former police officer, a former very highly trusted, his job was very, very high up. These guys are saying this, putting themselves on the line, their reputation, all of this. And then we have Alex Jones, who's done more or less nothing around Sandy Hook, as far as I know, nothing that has really been exposing. They're taking him to court, and he was then, if I remember right, sentenced $1 billion, 1 million. I mean, it was like an amount that was so ridiculously big compared to the other ones. But it was like, and still laughing, joking, you know, like this, still going on, hasn't gone in bankruptcy, hasn't done anything like that. And the reason for that, because that thing was a psychological operation to say to people like myself, back off.
Exactly.
If we can get to anyone, including big ones like Alex Jones, who are you? Shut up, or we'll destroy you as well. That whole thing, if you ask me, was a complete joke, that the court case against Alex Jones. The court case against Jim Fetzer and Walter Holbig completely staged to shut them up. Alex Jones, that was a psyop to shut the rest of us up.
You've explained that so eloquently, and it makes so much sense. I totally get it myself now, how it's all so devious and so, I guess the word is, it's like a game of chess that we're living in, and those who are playing this game of chess know every move. They know exactly what to do. It's a bit like Fringe. I'm just watching Fringe at the moment on Netflix just to see what they're coming up with. And I suggest anybody who wants to know, this is a great outlook of this guy who's I guess a mad scientist. They always portray them to be mad scientists. And basically what he did was, on children, he used to inject them and try to, the one that I'm watching is try to stimulate the 3 chakras, 1, 2, 3, so that they become ultimate power weapons. They become soldiers of war. So all of these things kind of make complete sense to me, that when we look at the World War II and what Hitler was doing, all of those stories that we heard of, all of those scientists that were taken from there when the war was over and sent to different parts of the world to continue the work. I guess what I want to ask you now, now we know all of this, is the world a construct? Is this world a world where it is more of darkness and evil entities and entities that are feeding from us? And are we just here to be food for entities, or what do you think the world is?
First of all, what you described is called Operation Paperclip, the thing with the scientist there. Regarding What's going on? I'm confused, Mark. I really don't know. Are we living in a matrix? Are we living in a laboratory? Are we living in the real world? I don't know. What I do know is, I can only say what is reality to me, is that there's several different things going on. There's one thing going on the street level, lots of horrible stuff and evil stuff and whatever. Then on a higher level, it's suddenly on a spiritual level, and there's the fight between good and evil. And then on an even higher level, it's all just the way it should be, where we are in this illusion of whatever it is we are in, to experience all of these things that we want to experience, everything from romance to trauma to horror to, just like you go to a Netflix platform and you got all of these different options. Here we have a possibility to live them out in real life, whatever real life is. So the way I understand it is that we are in something called duality, where black is needed to understand white, where up is needed to understand down, where good is needed to understand evil. And in this duality, in this where you got these two power sources, plus and minus, good and evil, whatever, we have this possibility to create, be part creators of what we experience as life, which is the life of our senses in a 3D reality, and there are many different other levels. So the thing is, if you're on a 3D reality, you will experience and see a lot of evil. You will see a lot of good, but you will be in a limited understanding. So you will only see this, oh, it's so horrible. Oh, it's so, we have to do this. We have to fight. We have to stand up. We have to do. And yes, 3D reality, that is the way. But on a higher level, in 4D reality, what I call 4D reality at least, that's where we start seeing, oh my God, it's actually upside down. In 4D reality, we come to a point where we start seeing that everything we're being told, and I really mean more or less everything that we've been told is good, is actually bad, and everything we're being told is bad is actually good. That is what most of us are experiencing right now, where it's just complete confusion. But it's not confusing if you just say, okay, it's just upside down, or it's like inverted, like the satanic way of inversion. So it's just like looking at the old days when you had a negative of a photo. It's just inverted. It's still the same image. And they also say that, we are here, I'm said to be white, this is said to be white, this whole thing. But what it's actually doing, it's repelling, it's pushing away everything except the color it is. So this alleged white color here is actually as black as it gets, because it's reflecting everything that is not. So we live in an inverted reality already. Our eyes are interpreting the light coming in, being broken down by the lens, then on top of the, what do you call it in English, the retina.
Retinue.
But it's made it upside down. So the way we see the world is actually upside down.
Yeah.
So when we see, I want to see life for what it is, maybe it's completely inverted. Everything that is red is everything except red. Everything that is blue is everything except blue, and it's actually upside down. So I think we're in a process also of really starting to understand and see the world for what it is, which is inverted. But that is also what the dark forces are trying to do, or they're trying to invert the way that we, in the end, will actually see reality for what it is. It's a confusing. I don't know. I've written a book called Re Mind Me about. It's a game manual of what I see life almost like as a computer game. And when you look at movies like The Matrix is number one, very interesting in many ways, I think. You got Westworld, another one really, really interesting. You got The Truman Show, really, really interesting. And then you have shows like Black Mirror and stuff that are just saying this is where they are taking us if we don't do something about it, which I find like really, that's pure horror movies, because these forces really want us to go into a very dark place. But I think our way is this. We really like this guy with the beard up on a cloud. The people behind these powers really adore the guy that eats with a fork and has a really red complexion and a few horns here and there. So it's
Yeah, I nearly looked like that as well. with that behind me, I thought,
you
yeah,
look,
I'm gonna
you
get a
look more like,
screenshot. I'm gonna get a screenshot and be told I'm satanic.
no,
Everything.
you look like more like Julius Caesar with a crown and a,
Yeah, well, please don't stab me. Or did he stab himself? It was. I mean, I find that interesting. I've been listening to the Caesars, and it's all connected with what's the film? I think it was part 3 of The Godfather, which was really fascinating. When the guy basically was in prison, and they sent the solicitor to talk to him, and they started talking about what they did in Roman times when, you know, they needed to maybe we'll look after your family, but you need to take your life. There's so much ritualistic behavior that continues to this day. You know, the bath scenario, how many people have died in the bath, how many people die in water, how many people die on the 3rd floor of falling off. And it's just so ritualistic to the degree that I kind of really sympathize with people who are saying now, I mean, there's some really angry people right now, really angry, saying enough is enough. If we don't understand that we live in a construct, we are living and we are just food for darkness, and we need to snap out of it. And then there's this trending also white light trap. And everybody, to me, is like, wherever it's coming from, it's just leading us to so much confusion at the same time as we have to reevaluate everything. So we're living in a really strange time, Ole, to me.
I can just say, yeah. I mean, I completely agree. But if you look at the Book of Revelations, I mean, it's almost like they're using that as a manual, and it is a very turbulent time. At the same time, very calm. It's the calm and the storm around it. It's very. So what I feel is that the one thing that I can control is my mind, and it's the mind that they want to get to. The mind control is not hard to control. And the thing is, they really, it's the same with bullies or whoever they are. The way they get to us is through fear. It is only through fear that they can control us. If we become fearless, it's really hard for them. And very often, if you live fearlessly as much as possible, also you become so much freer in yourself, and you sort of elevate your frequency, especially through gratitude, to where it's really hard for them to hold on. One of the major reasons that we're being pumped with all of this horrible information all the time is to keep us very low in frequency, I think, where they can get a boot on top of our head and push us down. Because once we start getting up and up and up, that's where the spiritual muscles are so important. And especially in times like this, I think that we who have some experience in these areas are going to be very needed, because there's going to be a lot of confusion, a lot of people that have not taken the time to look into these things, and also go to the spiritual gym and get some backbone and muscles. It's going to be very confusing and hard for them, and that's when we are really needed there to be able to guide through some turbulent times.
Yeah, it's very challenging for people to know who to listen to. That it's hard for people to, I mean, unfortunately, people want to have a guru. They want to have somebody that they believe in. And for the past 2 decades, I've been saying, no, you're your own guru, you're your own teacher. And a lot of people say, well, I'm not. And it's very difficult for them to find their true power and their their ability within. And I'm sure you're the same. I mean, when you share what you share, you don't want people to bow down to you and want and see you as a hero, and you want people to do the research just like you've done it and to be their own teacher and pupil, right?
Listen, the only one I can change is me. I don't go into debate. I don't go into discussions. I'm here of service. If anyone wants to listen, here I am. And so, but over the years, this has resulted in that I've been heard by millions. So the thing is, don't wait for the solution out there. Don't wait for a hero to come and save you. Sorry. The one you've been waiting for is you. The one I've been waiting for is me. And on this journey, I'm right now in a process where I'm going through some burning, you know, because I have things that I haven't dealt with in my life. And right now I got like a gas burner under my butt to, that is the way forward if I want to evolve. So I can look the other way around. I can, put my hand in the sand, or I can deal with it. And so this is the way I don't, it, I'm just doing my utmost. Is that enough? Is it not? Who knows? And then if anyone wants to listen, great. If they don't want to listen, great. I mean, what can I do? But it's like, I don't have doubts that this is going to end in a beautiful way. The mind sometimes get scared because when I look at what is being presented to me through screens, it's always through screens where we're being told the world is hell, the world is going under, the finance is now dying, there's no food, there's no not. But when you look out the window, is it the same image you get? No. You look out the window, it's absolutely beautiful. It's still moving around, the sun is going up, the moon is going up and down and whatever. Food, the trees are growing, cats are lying around, while I'm freaking out, the cat is just lying there playing with his belly button, being a mini Buddha, So who's right, who's wrong? I would say maybe I should spend more time with the cat than getting freaked out and learning about really dark stuff if I cannot handle it. Because if I can't handle it then and I start spreading it around me, then I'm indirectly helping these dark forces by pulling people down. So I believe in living by example. Just I do my utmost to live my life in a way that, as far as I know, is the right way to do. And if anyone get inspired, then great. If not, at least I've done what I can. But this whole thing, everybody should go leadership things and be a leader, be a leader. I mean, just lead your own life to start with. That would be a good one, and that is led by the heart, not by greed and desires, but coming from the heart and leading by the heart and having the courage and power in you to stay true to that. That is true leadership, I think. I know the Sioux Nation, when they were sort of not civilized, you had like war chiefs and so at times. And the way I thought, when I heard it described, I thought it was amazing because you were a war chief, for instance, when in a difficult situation, you said, let's go right, and people followed you. The day when you said, let's go right, and people didn't follow you, you weren't the war chief anymore because you had no authority. And I thought, I like that. Because that's a natural leader, and also these people went first instead of these politicians now signing the death warrant of like thousands of people, sending them into absolute unjust wars just for their greed. That has nothing to do with leadership. Look at these leaders we have in the world. I mean, is anyone of them worth any kind of respect? I don't think so at all. I mean, yes, they got nice suits and they got BMWs and bodyguards and some flags in the background. Would you trust them with your child, with your money? Would you? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So the real heroes are somewhere completely different, and that's the one we have to create.
I think everybody watching this is a real hero. And that's the problem. We've been told that to look elsewhere for your hero. Right.
The one you've been waiting for is the one looking back in the mirror.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Because also, I tell you, like in the Native American nations, there's some that says that we, the souls that are here now, are the strongest of the strong. We fought our way down to be part of these times because they're unique. The world has never seen anything like it.
Unfortunately, I don't want to interrupt. I'm too bad at that. But unfortunately, we've got a lot of people like now, the David Icks and so many are trending that, you know, what you've just said then is actually a spiritual bypass. And, you know, that we are here to make the world a better place. And they're basically saying, actually, it's all bullshit. We're here and we're tricked to come here, and we're just food for entities and demonic energies. And I'm like, I'm struggling with all of that. I really am trying, you know. And apparently now they're mocking people who have said that, you know, the soul that decides to come here and experience life and to grow from that experience. They're just mocking that now. And it's a new trend. I've noticed it with a lot of so-called spiritual people who are sharing messages. They never said that 20 years ago. It seems to be that there's a new trend in what their book is. And I find that fascinating. They never seem to hold their weight from like, what you've said 20 years ago is still the same today. What I said 20 years ago is exactly what I'm saying now. But what I've noticed is these people who are put on platforms, they trend different things. And I'm like, wow, this is interesting. Anyway, I don't know what you think about that.
No, I think, does it empower you or does it take the power away from you, listening to it? So if it deflates me, I'm just not listening. I don't follow anyone. I don't listen to anyone hardly, good or bad. But so it's like, ask yourself when these things happen, who benefits from you believing whatever it is? And if you see that by you following what they say, that it benefits something or somebody that you do not respect or that you don't, then step away.
So it's a really, really good way of looking at life, really. Just follow what feels right. I mean, you would get the other side of the coin of people just saying that you're just ignoring what needs to be seen. But I think that is also another psyop now. I'm starting to realize that too. It's not what you're saying is we're all NPCs. You know, if we just follow what we feel is true to ourselves, because we're not following what you're telling us to follow or what you're telling us to see. You know what I mean?
I don't even know what NPC is. What is that?
I don't know. I think it's NPC is when you're playing a game on the internet. There's all of these men all around and women, and they're not actually part of what the game. They're just put there to just be part of the game, but not to be anybody or anything. And again, I also find that strange to a degree as well, because I do believe that we are influenced without a doubt. I think we are all influenced every day. If we're not in a good place, even if we're in a good place, sometimes we can be influenced to cause an outcome to a situation. Like, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but every time I do a live, somebody or some people come onto next to me so I can't speak. And I'm like, why does that always happen when I start to do a live? I find that really interesting. Completely blows my mind. When I actually did a live on purpose, and I was in Maya in Ubud, and I said, okay guys, I'm gonna do this now, and tell me what you feel. I was bombarded with people coming into my live all the time, so I did it, and I said, okay guys, there's nobody here. And it was in Ubud, and I was showing everybody, okay, I put the camera down. I said, okay, let's talk about this subject. Within seconds, people just turned up from everywhere and started walking into, and like everybody said, wow, Mark, I didn't believe you. I thought you were full of shit, but I can see it. And then it's weird, but I think there's lots of things that are mysterious that we don't truly understand. I think it's beautiful. It's how you just said it. It's how you want to make it. Do I want to make that a beautiful event, which means that maybe my energy is really beautiful today and people are drawn to it? Or maybe do I want to make it dark and say, look, we're being attacked all the time? I think it's a personal choice, don't you, deep down?
Completely, completely. I mean, we are. It's all here. It's all here at all times. So what do you want to do with it? And I just feel that I've noticed that this one I can really get confused with, and also when that takes over, not good. This one, when I use my heart instead, it's very simple, it's very quiet, it knows the way. According to me, I don't know about you, but I know that the rules of the heart very simple. Do no harm, don't kill, treat everything with respect, don't steal, don't lie, don't. It's very simple. All of these things. In the old days, there were 10 of them down on a stone thing when they just said, "We'll just make it like that, so you can't erase it or forget it." But we completely just threw it to the side and made everything totally complicated and so. In Raj Yoga, which is the science of the mind, it's more than 5,000 years old. People that have been sitting in caves studying this one for so many years. It's not a religion, it's more like a philosophy. It's actually more like a manual over how to deal with this one. And what they say is do perfect actions. And perfect action is something that causes no harm to anyone and some benefit to someone, yourself included. It's very simple, you know. So do no harm and some benefit. With the more actions you can do that with your words, with your thoughts, with your action, and then go on into life. And I tell you, I can only say that the more peaceful I am on the inside, the more beauty I start seeing in my world, the more I go into aggression, depression, all of that, the world starts going really gray. And then I start attracting difficult situations. And then I get frustrated, I get angry, I react with violent thoughts or actions, and then it just escalates in a downward spiral. I just turn it around, whoop, it goes like this. So it's almost like there's this interaction. So and like interesting experiments you did there. So it's like, whoa, wait a second, am I a victim here or am I a part creator or what's going on? So instead of what I've been told recently, and I keep reminding me, but also I forget, is that what if all of this was for my benefit, for me to evolve from? Horrible stuff, good stuff, whatever it is, I don't know. Horrible stuff happened. Why did it happen? I have no idea. Why did it happen to me? Who knows? Why didn't it happen to me? Who knows? I don't know. So completely confused how to deal with this whole thing. So the only thing I can do is deal with it in the best possible way for the way I see it. I mean, other people say, shoot the head of that one and kill that and bomb that country. Maybe it's the perfect action for them. It's not for me. It's not my path. So the only thing I can be responsible for or take responsibility for is my thoughts, my words. But what I do is that my intention is the one that counts in my world. If my intention is right, and then I can sort of get body and mind, spirit aligned, then that's all I can do.
Yeah, you just broke up a little bit there, but I think we all got the gist of what you were saying. Yeah, and it's a beautiful way to live as well. I have a saying, which is the heart that gives is always full. And I think it's the simple things in the stillness we find the answers. All of these simple adjustments to the life is that what takes us down a more healthy and more happier path. Rather than become so like, because your work you're a contradiction in terms, really, because your work is about the rabbit hole. It's about false flag events, but you're also extremely spiritual and calm and lovely. And I consider that to be the balance. That's the balance to me. So we can learn about the challenges in life, what we're being lied to and manipulated every day, and yet there is so much love, and we can override all of that. So I find that fascinating about you. That's why I think you're a lovely soul. You've got this still beautiful calmness, serenity about you, love. You're passionate about life, and you're so honest. You're also humble, and at the same time, you want to share things that may to others be a little bit challenging and dark a little bit at times, but you try and do it where instead of them being dark and feeling dark, look at it with more I guess balance and not be fearful of it. And I think that's the hard part to get, because when we start going down rabbit holes, it can actually pull us into darkness. So have you got any like suggestions how not to let it affect us? I mean, what you've said today has been a great joy, because you've put into place something so wonderful for me and for everybody else, how to look at it and how to be objective rather than to start screaming and shouting saying the world is fucked up, everything's a mess and they're lying to us. And any suggestions that way?
Somebody I met a while ago said that my job was the worst job ever possibly, because I had to deliver the worst news to people, to be the bringer of the worst news ever, because I come with things that can be upsetting and I agree, it's not an easy path I chose. At the same time, it's like the reason I reach people is because I come from the heart, and that I mean no harm, on the contrary. So even though and this is when I go on tour, I tell you, my tours are exceptionally beautiful, because also I have a prayer before every time I go on a show or the stage or whatever, where I ask, there's this old guru guy of mine, and all the saints and sages, all my ancestors, known and unknown, all the angels, all the deaf waiters, and so on, to assist me in getting my ego out of the way and deliver whatever is needed to be said at that time to whoever is listening, and then lift the world to the next level of compassion, forgiveness, and joy, and wonderful for all, including the ones that do us harm. So when I go on tour, I talk about bombs and death and blood, whatever, but the outcome is that people feel completely in love with each other. And I mean, it's just so wonderful to be part of it. I'm so grateful, I tell you. So I completely forgot what you asked.
No, that was lovely. That was lovely.
The way, for me, I can only say for me, is to live my truth. And for instance, like during COVID, when I was on tour, when we weren't allowed to touch or social distancing, I was hugging like 400 people. I was standing outside. I always stand outside. I say hello to every single one, because one of the most important things for me is that everyone should have to feel seen and heard. So I really spend like maybe 8 seconds with one person when I say hello to them. I really see them, and then the next one, that is what I try to do. That's my intention, and then it just comes out beautiful. And so there was like one person said he was terrified of getting there, because he was afraid, that the police would take the licensing of it. I mean, I'm banned in many places. I'm being like, whatever. And so So he said he came there, he was sneaking in, he was like, maybe I should go home, maybe I should. But he said after that meeting, I didn't even recognize him. I mean, he was on a show years later, and he said, you took away fear from my life.
Wow.
And I just felt, wow, wow, mission accomplished. I don't know how it happened. I was part of it. Don't take full responsibility, no way. But what I said was, that was worth it. That really make a difference. That person can live so without so much fear, where he was terrified before. Amazing. And so I see the way out, whatever it is going on the outside, is to create peace on the inside. So that the day when they knock on your door with weapons or whatever, if they ever do, then meet them with as peaceful as possible. This is my aim also. Let's say here, because I've been threatened and I've been attacked in many different ways. So my aim is that should somebody take me out,
Yeah.
then that I, when it happens, do not judge them, because if somebody's doing that, they believe that they're doing the right thing, or they're doing it for money or whatever, so they're not aware of. But that I can, for my own sake, also do it without blaming them, and then with as much gratitude in my heart, leave this world and say, thank you so much. That was an incredible ride. My God, I've been completely messed up. I've seen high, I've seen low. It's been an amazing life, and I've done everything I can. That I failed there, and I did succeeded there and there and there. But that was it.
Can I ask you a question? The day that you leave this world, how are you going to leave it, and what will you do at that point? Will you go into the light? Will you just see what happens? Do you feel that you will vibrate into your home world? Is there any techniques or anything that you've learned over the years that that there may be a trap, or is there anything that you want to say how you would leave this world the day you take your last breath and leave this physical body to go back to your home world?
Let me check my crystal ball. So once again, I have absolutely no idea. What I do know is that the whole thing going towards the light, that is the way I understand. And so this whole thing about right now, when you're just about to do it, they say, no, you shouldn't go there. You should go that way. What the hell? So I'm not going to even listen to that. If I take the wrong one, well, my mistake. But according to Raj Yoga, which is the king of yoga, is that it's very, very important what your emotions and your thoughts at the end of your life.
Exactly.
And if you look at individuals like Mahatma Gandhi, he's one of the few people I really, really, really respect. What did he do? He was shot 3 times in the chest. He didn't say, you motherfucking, like that, and left in fear. He said, Rama, 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 God, God, God.
Yeah.
And I've been told, I mean, I can't remember if I lived before. In that case, I must have died. I have no idea. But what they say, this philosophy is that it's like almost getting into an elevator, like a lift.
Yes.
And depending on what frequency you are in, you press the button. No judgment, judgment. It just is like, where do you want to go?
Yeah.
And so if you die in fear or hatred like that, you press the lower buttons. Exactly. And that is where it will get you. And sometimes, unfortunately, you get stuck there.
Yeah.
Because you are in these lower frequencies.
Exactly.
But if you keep your frequency high, from a selfish point of view, I mean, it's for my benefit only. Who cares where I go? But from my personal, because I'm really not fond of pain and fear, I really do not like it. So I would try to remind myself to press the highest frequency.
Yeah.
And that is also then what they say, that's where you've been taken. And then yeah.
So basically, it's all about energy. It's all about frequency, and the buttons for me is just a metaphor. What I see as at the moment of leaving this body, how we vibrate at that point, and this is why a lot of my teachings is forgive, let go. And just be as joyful as you can at that moment. Have a healer there with you if you can, giving you healing, which is energy that lifts you up to that high vibration. So you vibrate into the frequency of your world that you are vibrating at. Absolutely. We're saying the same thing, basically. But you know what? Today's been absolutely lovely. I wanted to introduce everybody to Ole that don't know him. And I'd also like to say that people who were interested in what you've given freely today, out of love and kindness, maybe that they might want to care to join you and learn more from you on the spiritual aspect and all the other aspects that you teach as a guide. And is there anywhere where we can ask people to go to find you on a daily basis or a weekly basis that you might be able to coach them or help them? Is there anything that you're doing at the moment that, you know?
Oh God, yeah. Thank you so much for reminding me about that. My website is lightonconspiracies.com. I got like more than 1,200 interviews. I've got more, I don't know how many podcasts, I don't know how many webinars. There's about 5,000 or 6,000 articles that I've all vetted for. It's my whole life that is in there. Whatever area, from the darkest of the dark to the light, of the light is there. There are my books, there's membership, there's my monthly newsletter. There's also donation buttons if you extremely appreciate it, because one of the things that it's not the easiest thing if you don't have a job like that, but are working with no employer and you're being tried to stop and censor everything, finances. So please consider donations as a fair exchange of energy. What I want to point out also is that there's quite a few people that have over the years said that they would very much like to spend more intimate time with myself, because I come from someone, like you said, apparently quite unique combo of different areas. So Kim, my sweetheart Kim, came up with this beautiful idea of what is called 11 Strong, which is like a several months long journey where we meet every second Sunday, and where we have like a 2-hour meeting, very, very intimate. I had one of these. It was, I mean, I get goosebumps. It was so beautiful. We were like 10 and myself, I believe. It was just an incredible journey, absolutely amazing. And I also put in everything I have in the form of books, of documentaries, whatever it is that I have is also included. Plus a one-on-one session. I do one-on-one sessions also with people.
Wow.
And the thing is, I'm not an educated coach, absolutely not. But I have a background that is very unique, and also I've had I don't know what to say, but the blessings of having multiple traumas in my life, which has given me a lot of empathy for people in different situations. So also I use the prayer before I do these sessions. They're so different from session to session, and I actually saved lives. I've been told several times, and it's just amazing. There, so on the website also you can this coaching also, and yeah, I'm a little bit tired at the moment, but I tell you, this 11 Strong, it begins now on Sunday. There's still a few places left. If you're interested, it comes with a price tag, but the value, I think, and if I have a possibility, I would really change it to be a life-changing experience.
Well, I can think of worse ways of making money, so I think it's a lovely way. So that's amazing. Ole, it's always a pleasure to be in your company, and it's always a pleasure to every time I'm in Bali to come and give you a hug, you and Kim and your beautiful daughter. It's always lovely to be around you. You are absolutely the real deal, in my humble opinion. And I don't say that for many people in this world these days. And I hope people can, grasp the love and the passion that Ole has. And if you're interested in this great opportunity of 11 strong to be with Ole, you might find that it'd be the best decision you made for the rest of your life. And I hope some people, gravitate towards that and enjoy those beautiful 2-hour sessions with you on the internet and feel the love and the amazing gift that you are for everybody. I'm sure you've helped so many people, and I'd just like to thank you so much for taking the time to do this free of charge and to share your knowledge with us today and help us a little bit with the understanding of Julian Assange and all the rest of them that we sometimes we just need the pieces to be fitted together, and you've done it so eloquently and so well today. So from the bottom of my heart and everybody else, guys, you've all looked like you've had a great time. We've had a couple of 100 people on today, which is wonderful, and I hope that 200 people will find their way to all your Instagram pages, I don't know if you're on Facebook or your website, and to be a friend or to friend Ole today. So thanks, Ole. Is there any last thing that you want to, any last request, Gringo? Anything that you want to say?
No, thank you for all these beautiful words. And no, sorry, Instagram, I'm banned there, and I've been shut down in so many different areas because apparently I'm dangerous. You go figure. I mean, what sense does that make? But I have this prayer that I absolutely love. It's from my spiritual teacher, Nevani Chelaram, and it goes like this. May the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light. That's the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light. May everyone, and especially the ones who hurt us, be filled with peace and joy, love and light. May the light of truth overcome all darkness, so victory to that light.
Couldn't end it more beautifully. Thank you so much, Ole. I wish you a lovely day, week, month and year, and may your light shine and touch every soul that deserves touching. Have a beautiful day, Ole. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone who is listening.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Till next time, Ole. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.